Hello everyone, you're listening to the Earful Tower podcast. My name's Oliver G. I'm going to keep this intro short. The way that this episode came about today was, incidentally, it came from the Patreon members on the Facebook group. It's this, I don't think I talk about this group very much, but it's a place where I post extra stuff. People often post pictures and conversations about Paris, and Leslie Raynor, or Leslie Raynor, perhaps, she shared a picture and a story from her first time in Paris 51 years ago. It got me thinking. This is a topic I want to delve a little bit deeper in. But on a recent trip to Sweden, where Lena is from, my wife, we're talking about our early trips to Paris with our whole family. And her dad and mum told a really fun story. And I asked them if they'd share it. So you're going to hear Lena's dad, Jakob, sharing the story of how he and his wife managed to fake their way into a fashion show on one of their first trips to the City of Lights. Now, I just want to add, Lena's dad plays the double bass, so the music you're about to hear was from him. After the episode, I said, hey, just play something Paris-y. You guys who really know Paris will recognize the tune. Otherwise, I'll reveal what it is at the end of the episode. Thanks to all the Patreon members. You guys make this show happen. If you're not a Patreon member, now is the time. Especially if you're one of those people who've been like, I've been meaning to sign up. Patreon.com/The Earful Tower. You'll hear more from me at the end, but let's get into today's story. Jakob, welcome to the studio.
Thanks.
In your house.
All right. Yep.
How are you today?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm all right. And thank you
Good.
for speaking English.
Yep.
Is English second language?
Yeah, it's, part of my life, I would say, it was my first language because I lived in the States for a year. And also at work, I've been working quite a lot of English environments, but yeah, I'm born Swedish.
I would guess by the way you speak English that American accent is like Kansas.
Yeah. pretty accurate, actually.
So you
just pulled that out of the rabbit hat, or maybe the rabbit hole.
I think a few listeners already know the story that Lena and I drove across America and visited the high school you went to in Kansas.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about that today.
No.
Although a shout out to any Kansas listeners, there may be.
Well, I would certainly do that because I really enjoyed my year there. It was quite an important part of building who I am today, I think. So
interesting. That's a good connection because as I remember from seeing the picture of you in, can we say what school it is? Or
yeah. Ness City High.
There's
Ness
a
City
picture.
Eagles, go, yeah.
There might be someone listening in Ness City.
Yeah,
Maybe.
why not?
If so, get in touch. There was pictures of you playing instruments there. And that kind of leads us a little bit into Paris and France. Because a little known fact about you, you're in well, maybe you can explain. I call it a Charles Aznavour cover band. Is that fair? Well,
partly we have sort of two favorites. It's Leonard Cohen, which is my friends. We're two. He's a guitarist, singer, and I play the double bass and sing. And so he's a profound, Cohen. He's been following and playing Cohen for years and years, and me too. But I sort of persuaded him to do a French thing. And so we've done quite a lot of Aznavour, and I've loved Aznavour as long as I can remember.
So there'll be people listening now say, who's Charles Aznavour? As a fan of his, can you give us like the sort of 1 minute, especially as a musician, why you like him?
Well, there are so many aspects of Charles Aznavour. He's a fantastic songwriter. He's a fantastic performer. He does not only sing, he performs in a way that not everybody does. So it's you're almost looking at a play. He's written over thousands of songs. He's been performing in several languages. He's been fighting for groups of people with that have been, less favored by society,
like minorities,
exactly. So foreign. He was himself native French, but born from Armenian parents, and he stood up for for things quite a lot earlier than it was popular to stand up for other things.
And musically, what do you...
Musically, it's it's one of those things. He makes it sound so easy, but when you play it, it's really, really difficult. He has a flow, and he has a feeling that just one of my favorites. He treats uses the French language, and everybody that loves France and French. French is such a beautiful language, and Aznavour, he really excels. Let's say a phrase. Je n'aurais jamais cru qu'on se rencontrerait.
Je n'aurais jamais cru qu'on se rencontrerait.
I would never have thought that we would meet like this. It's like he writes about love and life in a way that it's almost very often it's sad, but he always have sort of a hope in it. So it's there is a light, even though it's sad.
And there's a crack in everything. I thought you were going that way a little.
That's going. but Charles he's
you're on first name basis with him now. Charles, wow, here we go.
Charlie.
Charlie.
And Lenny.
I should point out, by the way, actually, he did die fairly recently as well.
Yeah.
I think maybe your deep love for him makes you talk about him. You're saying he performs, he does this. He passed away a few years ago, which seems to be the story of my life. I seem to get into like musicians and actors and stuff right as they die that I'd never heard of before. And I feel like Aznavour had this kind of text, this red thread running through my life in Paris in really weird ways. I know I've told you some of the stories before, but maybe I've not shared them on the podcast. Like when the lockdown was ending in Paris. A story.
I think I know where you're going. So I've seen clips of when people standing on the balconies.
Exactly.
And everybody is singing chorus. Emmenez.
Yeah.
Take me with you to a foreign land and to a better place.
And it was so it was the end of the lockdown. There was this speaking of
strong.
hope and like wanderlust and wanting to be elsewhere. I got a video of it. You guys maybe saw it online somewhere. But when everyone came out at 8:00 to clap. To thank the healthcare workers. Once Lena and I went for a walk, and to coincide with this 8 p.m. clap, it was kind of a happy moment after we'd been in this lockdown for so long, and you could see all these people at once. It was really nice. Yeah. And this one day we turned a corner and they were all singing that song, and I was like, that's nice.
Just hearing you talk about it now makes me, it brings back so many feelings. I wasn't there. Yeah. But the feeling of connect to these people and the way that they connected to each other through that song. And I know, when Aznavour passed away, it was almost like a state funeral. Yeah, everybody was out,
and they played that song in the Invalides on like the big brass band. I guess is that what you call it, or not brass band, like a concert.
A brass orchestra. I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the story that we wanted to focus on a little bit today. So I'm going to try and pick it apart a little bit.
Okay.
If we start off by saying it wasn't your first trip, you'd been to France a couple times, Paris already.
Yeah.
Through like high school and stuff, or
after my first year in high school, I went. Interrailing, very popular thing back then in Sweden and in Europe, I guess.
What year are we talking about?
76.
You might have met my dad.
I think it was the same period. I was there first time. I was interrailing with a friend, summer.
Australian guy? Orange backpack?
Yeah.
South of France?
Actually, I picked up an orange backpack. No.
These are in-jokes to 2 episodes ago. Yeah. Keep up. Okay.
Keep it up.
So you've been a few times, and then the story we're about to tell was...
I was there 2 times in 76. Okay. First summer and with a friend, and then alone Christmas. So I interrailed by myself, and I totally recognize all these things that Peter talked about. You know, sleeping park benches, and I mean, talking about low budget. I hardly had any budget at all. So it was. I had the Interrail card, and that's where I had put my money. So I just went off, you know, and so the strangest wake up call I had was I'd been chased away from the park benches in Nice. So I just since going by train was free, I took the train a couple of stations out towards Antibes and beyond that. And
it's the wrong place to be when you're on a budget, by the way.
You think so?
I'll just pop over to
Oh,
Antibes.
you know, but the Riviera was the thing, so to speak.
Right.
And I'd looked forward to seeing the Picasso Museum for years, and so I went there, you know, a bunch of times when I was there, and so I ended up on a small station, commuter station, and so I just rolled out, you know, my sleeping bag on the ground in the station, and just on the platform, and had a good night's sleep. And when I woke up, I had, you know, thousands of feet around me. So without me even I was so tired, so I hadn't even, you know, recognized that there was just a lot of people standing just really close by me. Rather interesting wake up.
Okay, so that kind of sets, I think, people at home. I should also say, for anyone listening in Nest City, for example, or anywhere else around the world, interrailing is very common in Europe. You buy a ticket, you can ride trains all over the continent. But that maybe sets the scene of who you are as a person. You know, travel around cheap, trying to I don't know, trick the system a little bit here and there, maybe, which leads us to today's story.
I'll just add, talking about Paris. I was just briefly a couple of days with my friend there, but I was hooked. I was hooked from the start.
Yeah,
I had sort of, you know, I'd envisaged and looking forward to see Paris.
Yeah.
We were going first down towards Madrid, but we decided to turn back and go to Paris because that was one of the main.
It just caught you.
And when I was there, I was hooked.
What did it make you think when your daughter Lena moved to Paris? Surprise?
Not really.
No.
Not really at all. Not at all. And it was sort of you know, circles coming back.
Now your grandson born there.
Yeah. That's great.
That was harder to predict.
With an Australian dad.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's set the scene now. Where's this story? What year are we in?
We're moving ahead, so we're 1986, I think.
Okay, mid-'80s. And now, this is weird because I know this story. I've heard it, but not in English. And the listeners haven't heard it, so we're going to take it from scratch. We need to build up the plot. You're living in Sweden with your wife. Yep. Who are you? What are you doing? Are you young?
I mean, we were young. We were newly married, our mid-20s. I got my first, really proper job in a bank.
Right.
Low standard position, but, happy to get a job.
So like a full-time bank worker,
Yep.
Bottom rung.
Yeah, bottom rung.
Okay.
Annelies, my wife, she had just started an education university in fashion and art design.
Similar to Lena.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly. Might be a connection. I don't know.
So she's first year university. You just got a job. Okay.
Yeah.
In Sweden. Stockholm?
No, Gothenburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
And had she been, Anne-Louise, had she been to Paris?
No.
Okay.
This was her first trip.
Okay.
So, with that first job and a monthly salary, we've bought. Finally, at last, bought ourselves a car that we dare to go outside the city limits. That's, we've had an old wreck before, but now we had a good car. So
what, you drove to Paris?
We
from Gothenburg.
Yeah, so I just we bought the car, and the day after, I just went into to my boss and said, it's Easter time. I hear it's very nice down in Paris right now. So could I please have a week off with my wife?
Yeah,
we really would like to get into the spring and see Paris. And he said, well, okay.
Even though you're a bottom rung worker, although in Sweden you get a lot of holidays compared to.
Oh yeah. Even back then I had 5 weeks.
Wow.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So off we went.
Good idea. Paris, spring. Your
Yeah.
wife is in fashion.
Yeah.
She's into art. You've
Yeah.
already got a taste of the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Although nothing really did go wrong, did it?
Well, it was a sort of it was not a straight line towards success, but we'll get there.
Okay. So let's pick it up. You drive down there.
Yep.
You're staying. Do you remember where you stayed?
Latin Quarters somewhere.
That's funny that you say that, because Dad, when he was on the show a couple of weeks ago, talked about the Latin Quarter with sort of fondness.
Oh yeah. It was the thing.
Well, I don't feel like it's the same now.
No. When I've been back there, I have sort of mixed emotions. I can remember the feeling, and when we were going down, it was sort of very natural for me to say, yeah, we're going to stay at Latin Quarters, but I don't know.
Well, the Latin Quarter, can't have changed that much. It's obviously a lot of the stuff there is hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
The galleries and restaurants and stuff, that will always change all the time. But it's funny that because I don't think people today say, I'm going to Paris, I'm going to stay in the Latin Quarter.
I think for me, and for a lot of young people in Sweden, now that we're talking about it, is a connection with the 68. The university and all those things happening there.
The uprising, revolution,
exactly.
Ripping out the cobblestones and throwing them up.
Yeah. So even though I'm born in '59, so I'm sort of I was a bit too young to live the '68.
Yeah.
My generation, we were very much filled up with the feeling of fraternité, égalité.
Even though you're in Sweden.
Yeah, it was a strong thing. And, Olof Palme,
Swedish Prime Minister.
Yeah.
But hang on, what about him? Why did you say him?
Well, I think he was a symbol for international solidarity, at least as what we thought in Sweden.
Right.
And I think, so... all those things, I think Latin Quarter. I think they were connected in some way.
Okay. So you're
more like a feeling,
right? The sort of I get it. Although I definitely think I might get emails about that, but I feel like it's changed. I don't feel
and as I say, it's when I've been back there now with you, I can't really have. I have a problem of sort of evoking the same emotions, but I remember
the cobblestones are all too firmly stuck to rip out now.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're probably staying in the Latin Quarter and having a nice time, I imagine, doing the touristy things.
Yeah.
When one of you gets an idea, I assume it was Anne-Louise.
Yeah. She got the idea that now that it's spring. Paris, spring and Paris sort of equals fashion show, she thought. So, Jakob, why are we not?
She called you Jakob.
Well, sorry, it's English.
Yeah.
When I was in Kansas, I tried to get those my friends to say Jakob.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
It's hard to.
So they called me Jakob.
Jakob.
And then I changed back to Jakob. It was sort of easier.
Jakob.
Yeah. So in English I'm Jakob. So,
okay.
But she said Jakob. Why couldn't you? I don't know. Why are we not on a fashion show? It's Paris in spring and we're here. Why I don't. What's the problem?
Yeah.
So we were sitting in this small cafe up in Montmartre, close to the big square, with all the artists.
Place du Théâtre.
Yeah.
Okay. That's funny that I wonder if you track it down. be able to track it down. But anyway, sorry.
Maybe I can actually that I can see from in my inner eye. It was a sort of a long bar, classical dark bar with polished.
It could be about 800 in Montmartre.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry I'm interrupting. I know people are going to get upset at me. Here, okay, so you're in Montmartre.
Yep. And Annelise said, so we've been here a couple of days now, and it's time for a fashion show, don't you think? And and back then, of course, no mobile phones. So I went to the bar and asked for a phone. Incidentally, now, from my reading a lot of, Simenon, Maigret, there's always, in every book, he goes to the bar and sort of, and makes a phone call. Yeah. So I was sort of, it's a good connection, I think, with French.
There's a bar, I did a speakeasy episode recently, and there's a new bar where you go to the phone booth and you pick it up and you say, I have a reservation or something, and like a wall opens or something, and there's a speakeasy hidden. You'd like that one.
I would like that.
Okay, so you're up there, you're on the phone.
Yep. And the bartender, a woman, she helps me, picks up this, big, heavy backlight telephone, puts it on the bar, and I ask her, do you have any telephone catalogs? Paper, thick, like a couple of inch, 2-3 inch thick catalogs over Paris, and I asked her, could in French, of course. She back then nobody spoke English or rather bad English
or Swedish
or no, and so asked her to if she could help me to find a fashion show. And so we stood there and let's see, Dior, and started. So I started.
So you guys, Annelise wanted to be on the runway show, basically. Okay, cool.
Yeah, proper fashion show with the girls coming out in different outfits and. Yeah. And so I started, like an honest young man, and said, in French then, could you please? We are tourists here. Could you please have any fashion show for us? And of course, the answer was because
well, you call like Dior, essentially.
Yeah, Dior. Yeah.
Okay. But was it Fashion Week or something?
No.
Okay, so they won't even happen. Okay.
No,
I think today, I feel even me with a significant following of French lovers, I think I'd struggle to get into any fashion show during Fashion Week.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing was that we had a lot of things going against us.
Okay, so what did they say?
For one, there was no Fashion Week, and if there would have been a Fashion Week, we would. They're only for professionals, so ordinary people don't get in. Yeah. But young and stupid and ambitious and trying to please my wife, of course. Yeah. And she was sitting, 10 meters off and with a cup of coffee and waiting for a positive answer, looking a bit.
More impatient by the second.
Yeah, but more impatient
by the second. So the first call you called Dior or something?
Yeah, and she said no.
Yeah, forget it.
No, they're like in No Soup for You.
Yeah. Seinfeld. Yeah. Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Okay.
So no fashion show for you. So I asked. So we started. I called second and third and the fourth. And I got a bit more ambitious with telling a bit more story about why we were there, but still, there are no fashion shows for tourists here.
Do you remember? No. I'm curious if you remember. How did you pick did you find the fashion section of the phone book, or were you thinking of brands that you knew?
Yeah. The woman at the bar, she helped me, and I think even I went back to Annelise and asked her, "Do you know
some more brands?
Give us some more brands, please. Okay. Write them down." Yeah. And so no, there was not a fashion section in the phone catalog. No. It was just going by the name. So after maybe 6 or 7 very firm no's, I went back to Annelise and said, "Well, well, it was a good idea, would have been nice, but seems like it's not possible.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me with those, very, very surprised and not very friendly expression, and said, "What's the problem here? Why is it really that difficult for you to such a small demand? We've driven here from Sweden to Paris, and you can't even give me a fashion show. We're in Paris, for God's sake." So
I wonder if that's her recollection of how she said.
Well, so sort of.
Okay, so now you're tasked with now. So what do you do now?
So I go back, low-hearted but firmly decided to the bartender and said, "Well, could you please take up the phone again, and we'll try to find some other brand."
Do you remember were you paying for every phone call, like giving out coins or something?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think actually she was so getting involved in it.
She was into it. Yeah.
So as I remember, she didn't take any money for it at all.
Now the bartender's in on it.
Yeah,
she
yeah,
wants
yeah.
you
Yeah.
to succeed. Okay.
Yeah.
So now
she really wanted me.
So you're 8 brands in.
Yeah.
I don't know your knowledge of fashion brands, but I think you'd struggle to get past 8.
Yeah.
So Anne-Louise must have really topped you up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on the 9th fashion brand.
Yeah, and so we call this brand Carven, Carven, right? Yeah. So I have sort of, after 8 no's, I realize I have to change my goal on this totally. So being a newly employed banker at a low rung position, I start with, "Hello. My name is Jakob Nordin. I am a bank director in Sweden, and my wife is a rather well-known fashion designer in Sweden. We were just passing by, and we wonder at which hour it would be convenient for you to show us some of your very nice latest fashion models."
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so,
in French.
Yeah. I actually did it most in French. It was so all this, all the start was in French, but then so it was a quiet moment where she sort of decided, is this for real or not?
The quiet moment where nowadays she would be Googling you.
Yeah.
But in those times, she's like, "Have I heard? No."
Okay. But I emphasized we're rather well known in Sweden.
Yeah,
so,
of course, yeah.
So, but after a few seconds, she said, "Ah, Monsieur Nortin, oui, naturellement, oui, je vais essayer de trouver un moment, oui, pardon." And she went away to look in her calendar and came back rather quickly and said, "Tomorrow."
Right.
"We have a show tomorrow for you. Would it be possible for you?" So now we changed for me asking, where she's asking me if it would be convenient for us, which is, so then I know this is looking good.
You're in.
Yeah, I'm in. So she said it tomorrow. I don't remember actually what time, so and so, and you're welcome at this address, and it was. Right by the Arc de Triomphe on side street to
Champs-Élysées.
Champs-Élysées. Mm-hmm. So the day came, and we were hurrying through the Tuileries from our hotel, and we were a bit late. And the wind, I had put on my only silk tie, really nice. So I don't know, I don't remember actually, but my wife and my mom bought that for me as a birthday present. Yeah. And it's probably they were all excited because I had a job at the bank. And so she thought, you have to dress up. And so really, really nice fashion silk tie. And it, the wind caught it. And we saw that it was the brand that we were visiting.
Carven. The tie
I
was...
mean, you know, the stars are aligning, you know.
I wonder if it was in the back of your head when you were making the calls because you'd seen it on the tie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, so you're running through Tuileries late.
Yep.
I don't know why you were late.
I don't know. But there we were.
And And so you see the tie, you realize you're onto a good thing now.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we find the address, and we say it was you're into doors.
Big time.
It was a big time, very nice big door down on the street, and we went up one flight of stairs, and it was it was huge. This stairs. It was not like the typical French apartment where you struggle to have your shopping bag beside you.
Yeah, that whole area is really nice for 8th, 16th arrondissement area.
So as I remember it, the stair was probably 2-3 meters wide.
Yeah.
So it was really nice and polished all the way. And we came up to first floor, and really giant doors. Probably, as I remember it, 4 meters high, something like that, double door. And knocked on the door.
So that door was inside 4-meter door?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
And opened, and in this giant doorway, a very small woman in black clothes opened and looked up at me and said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, Monsieur."
You're like, look at my tie.
Yeah, exactly.
I belong here.
So this is Jakob Nordin, Louis Nordin, oui, de la Suède.
Yeah.
And she said, Monsieur, Madame Nordin. And, she almost bowed down to the floor, and she really...
Were you excited at this point, or are you thinking, oh no, I've gone too deep?
Well, no, we were just in it, we were just in it. We, like when you're in, you just have to go for it.
But do you remember, were you acting like a bank director as well? Were you sort of like,
Yeah. I had to play have to play the part. Really. Yeah. Yes. Trying to speak in a low voice and
make it quick. I've got a lot to do.
We have a lot to do here. We have other fashion to decide. Yep.
We've got Dior later this afternoon.
Yeah. So and she showed us the way, and it was. What do you call it? This long
catwalk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Catwalk, probably, at least 10 meters, 15 meters, with a lot of uncomfortable chairs and on small comfortable chairs on the side, and 2 really comfortable chairs on the short side.
The kind of chairs where a bank director would sit? Or
that's where she put us. So, there were all these other professionals that were there for purchasing managers, probably from big stores. And they were on these uncomfortable chairs on the side, whereas we were...
I wonder what they expected from you.
I don't know.
Like, maybe they... Like, if you take yourself outside of the story for a second, maybe they had sort of VIP guests who just come to watch and aren't expected anything. But maybe they expected you guys to really go all in or something,
Yeah.
By the signature piece.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, so you're sitting on the comfortable chair, king and queen of Sweden, watching the show.
Yeah. And, all these models coming out and sort of ignoring the professionals on the sides, and all flirting with me. That's very strange, but pleasant.
Right, okay.
And we noticed that all the other guys and they had this, they were making notes.
Right.
And we noticed that we had also a notepad and a pen at a small table between our chairs. So we also started taking notes, of course. Yes, number 26. Yeah, looking nice.
More like, what should we do for dinner tonight?
How on earth are we going to survive when the show ends? And after half an hour or so, the show ends, and this lady, who was probably the head of the office,
Madame Carven, probably.
Yeah, right, Madame. She came up to us and she asked us, what do you think? Was it up to expectations? And yes, rather, yes. Yep. And so she continued and asked, "Is there any particular piece that you would like to
buy?"
So I said,
"You looked at your notes."
Yeah, I looked at my notes and I looked at Anne-Louise's notes, and she had written number 26, I think.
Right.
So I said, yes, we found number 26 rather interesting.
Yeah.
And so she showed us out, into the shop where they made all those fantastic clothes, and we were talking, designs and fabrics for maybe a quarter of an hour or so, and then. Just by the way, I said, and the price, how much? And she said, it's one of those. Yes, it's 25,000 francs, which was, like.
It sounds like a lot.
7-8 times my monthly salary.
Oh wow!
So I said, oh, very interesting. And then if we were to buy 5,
is that all? 25,000?
And when I said, well, if we were to buy 5, my wife I could sense that. The sort of restrained laughter was bubbling through.
Yeah.
So we, I hastily looked on my watch and what? Time flies. We have to rush. And we did. So we did, and left, and
ran out giggling onto the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah.
And to this day, never bought another Carven piece, or just the tie. Do you still have the tie?
Well, time will tell.
No, the tie. Do you have the tie?
Yeah, I know.
Do you
No, I haven't.
That was some really Aznavour wordplay there. That's lovely, though. We, Lena and I looked it up, actually. I don't have it with me right now, but it was likely the autumn-winter collection.
Right.
That you must have seen to be, because if you were there in spring, they'd be showing the next season stuff. And we also found the address of Carven.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's on a little, does this ring a bell? It used to be off a small roundabout on the Champs-Élysées. Mm-hmm. So you would have, from the Tuileries, gone up half the Champs-Élysées. On the right, there's a little roundabout.
Yeah,
and it was right there.
Yep.
And then it closed
right.
for many years until really recently they bought it back, the same brand.
Oh, really?
So they're in there again.
Wow.
So I might try and visit, or next time you're in Paris, it could be a really fun...
Yeah. Madame, Monsieur Nordin, oui, je suis en retour. J'ai une histoire.
You're probably banned. There's probably a picture of you. Time wasted. Swedish time wasted.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. Time flies.
Yeah, time does fly. That was 35 years ago. Yeah. Now we're in the present day. Time also flies on the podcast because we filled up a whole episode. But to finish off, do you feel that there's a moral to that story in that, faking your way in Paris is something to do? Do you think that's something you wouldn't recommend if you continued to do it as you got older?
Well, looking back, I telling this, I can sort of feel I'm getting a bit red in my face because I'm partly I'm proud and partly I'm a bit ashamed. Yeah. But I think when you're young, you should just do things like that. Yeah. You have to do some crazy things. Yeah. If you don't, you miss out on things. Yeah. And of course, you should not, really cheat people in a bad way, but but cheat people in sort of a good way like this. I think it gets you experiences that you wouldn't have otherwise.
I was going to say, do you think you still do stuff like this?
Partly a bit.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you and I got into Printemps when it was closed. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That's a story for another episode.
Yeah.
Some things never change, apparently.
Yeah.
But thanks for sharing the story. On social media this week, I'm going to share pictures of that collection, I think. And also I'll try and get into that place and see if it triggers some memories for Carven. But thanks for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, well, I'm as you can tell, I'm sort of exhausted. Yes, I'm reliving the experience.
The shame.
The shame and the fame.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thanks.
So there you have it, guys. I'll also keep this outro short, as that was a bit of a longer episode. Jakob, Nordine, Lena's dad, sharing his story of how he got into a big fashion house in Paris. I plan to go visit. I'll be sharing pictures, some from the 80s and some from today on social media. You can follow me all over the place. Just type in the Eiffel Tower. Otherwise, check the show notes for the names of the songs and everything. And that little bit of double bass that you heard was Sous le ciel de Paris. Not an Aznavour song at all, but a lovely one. I'll be putting that in the show notes too. Thanks to all you members. I'm going to be asking you in the coming days about your first trips to Paris. Get ready to dig through your old photos and see what you could find, because I'd love to see them. As for me, I'm going to prepare for the new season of the Eiffel Tower, which will start, I plan, in March. And we'll see me exploring the city in a whole new way. I can't wait to share it with you. It's going to come with a much bigger budget than usual, though, so a last reminder, it would make a difference if you sign up. Patreon.com/the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to unlock Paris as you've never seen it before. Merci beaucoup. Thanks for listening, and au revoir.